incoming Shadow Chancellor. John has led the development of Labour's economic strategy. John's a great friend to PCS and we're really delighted to welcome him.
Thank you. I welcome the report, if only because it's got some of my choice quotes in it. I've lived with I will swim through vomit before I vote for this a bit as people repeat the show and the video. It's a really useful contribution. Let me explain where we're at the moment. In the last manifesto I set out in this report, we set out a number of reforms. As you know, it was a snap election, so we had to come forward with a series of policies very rapidly and how we would address the immediate suffering, really, the immediate suffering that people were enduring as a result of the social security system that had been imposed upon people since austerity was introduced, and some elements of it even before then. So, as set out in the manifesto, we said we'd do a number of things like end the bedroom tax, restore housing benefit under 21s, end the sanctions regime, we'd scrap work capability assessments, which have so much human suffering amongst disabled people in particular, and we'd increase the cares allowance and employment support allowance. We set aside, I think it was about £4 billion, I think these referred to in the manifesto and the report itself, and that was the first wave of reform. Alongside that, though, I don't think it was completely understood, and it's laid out in this report to a certain extent. We were trying to re-establish the concept of full employment as the basis of our economy, but full employment not in a way in which the current government boasts about 3 million additional new jobs, but full employment based upon well-paid, secure employment alongside sexual collective bargaining, trade union rights, and a real living wage, and we said at that stage £10 an hour. And again, that was the basis upon the last manifesto. And then Ruth Savage was basically very nicely for not doing enough, not going far enough. That's always been Ruth's role. It's been a really constructive role as well. So where we're at the moment is obviously planning for whenever the next election comes. It could come fairly soon. You never know on these things. And what's happening through Margaret Greenwood at the moment is undertaking the review of universal credit, asking the government to end the rollout, full stop. And now that we've been relatively successful in some of those arguments, but also looking at a revision and reform of universal credit. My view in the past has been to scrap the thing and then start all over again, and I think to a large extent some of the cumulative reforms that Margaret's bringing forward in discussion with many of yourselves effectively does that, but it will be based upon assessing real need and tackling the real need that is out there at the moment, such an escalation in child poverty in particular. But alongside that, we are moving forward in terms of how we invest in our economy and grow the economy to bring about secure, long-term, stable employment that is based upon a prosperous economy, but where that prosperity is shared by everybody. That's the fundamental basis of our reforms. There is a discussion about how we go further, and on universal basic income, we're publishing a report by Guy Standing in a few weeks' time, and then Ed Miliband actually has taken a strong interest in this. We'll be taking it around the country to do the detailed consultations around a range of options on lessons learned from existing pilots and the potential for pilots in the future. And what we'd like to see is the development of local pilots as rapidly as possible, but if we can't get them before the next general election, certainly we're recommending that in the next manifesto that we include the potential for UBI pilots. And it's on the point that you made, different levels of support that could be done, and different angles of support as well. It is a way of overcoming the issues around conditionality. It is a way of establishing what this pamphlet is arguing for, the restoration of universality, of universalism within our society itself. Alongside that, there's another debate that's going on, which we'll be again bringing forward various reports on, which is alongside this reform of the existing social security system rapidly in the short term to get money into people's pockets so that they're out of poverty. Look at the priorities of that, which is the tremendous level of child poverty. That we've got 4.5 million children, people who've suffered some of the most as well in terms of single families and people with disabilities. Trying to rapidly reform the system so we can get money into them and to lift them out of poverty. Look at the longer term in terms of universalism and remove conditionality, possibly with UBI. But there's another debate going on as well, which is about universal basic services, which again I think is a stimulating debate. Universal basic services that we have at the moment, one was the NHS, of course, the other will be our National Education Service, and there'll be other arguments for other aspects. Libraries were once a universal basic service until cuts took place. But there's other ways in which we can enhance the quality of people's lives as a result of establishing certain services universal. For example, housing is one of them. So that's the programme that we're working on at the moment to bring into the debate that we'll then have for our next manifesto. The consultations are taking place as we speak. If the general election is called, we'll have the usual Clause 5 meeting in which we determine what finally goes into that manifesto. But I think it is learning some of the lessons from the last manifesto, which is actually the scale of resource that needs to go into the reform is significantly higher than we originally budgeted for. And then secondly, our element in the next manifesto needs to be significantly more redistributive than we had in that manifesto itself. And that then leads on to a discussion about a fair taxation system. We put in proposals last time whereby, in terms of income tax in particular, 5% would be paying more would protect the 95%. Trying to maintain that principle throughout the discussions that we're having, which leads us on then to a discussion around how other forms of resources could be mobilised. And the big debate is what we do around wealth and where that wealth is held within property. And that's the discussion about the reform of local government finance. And you saw the last manifesto, the commitment to the exploration of the land value taxation. So there's areas like that we're currently exploring, where there'll be further consultations in detail as we go over the next few months that we'll bring forward there to try and establish a fair taxation system, which can then fund the additional resources on a scale that we need to lift people out of poverty, but then also alongside that to reform the system to ensure that we establish those two principles, universality, but the lifting of conditionality as well. Finally, it also requires, as the report set out, the remiss of me as the former chair of the PCS Parliamentary Group, raised this, it also requires a structured department that's capable of undertaking those reforms, that's properly staffed, with staff that are properly trained and supported, rather than some of the oppressive regimes that we've seen from the DWP in particular, which in terms of industrial relations, I have to say, has been one of the worst in government, in fact I think in government history as well. So again, it's making sure that we design a system to involve those people who receive the benefits or receive the operation on that principle of nothing about us without us. So how do we consult and make sure people who are users of the system are fully involved in those discussions and consultations, and that's the work that Margaret Greenwood is doing now, and a number of the groups that we're working with are here today. In addition to that, it's making sure that we consult and work with PCS representing the workforce that will eventually administer whatever new system we introduce. In that way, I think we can have a significant breakthrough based upon the knowledge and understanding of how the system operates from those people who are receiving the system at the moment, the receiving end of it, and those ones who are also implementing it. I just think it could be a fundamental breakthrough about how we tackle poverty in this country, but also we not just tackle poverty, we raise the quality and standards of living for the vast majority of the people at the moment in every one of our constituencies, there's a large number of MPs that are here who I think, the people like me, I've been in this place 21 years, I've represented the root of my area in different forms in 40 years. And I've never seen the suffering, human suffering like this was ever, in terms of levels of poverty, in terms of the scale of homelessness, in terms of the levels of overcrowding, in terms of exactly as Phil Alston said in the UN report, the levels of absolute destitution that we're facing at the moment. No matter how tough the problems are that we'll have to solve in this field, I give this commitment. It is, I think it's the priority of our administration when we go into government, because we will not stand by and witness this level of human suffering in the fifth richest country in the world as a result of the gross inequality that we experience, and also the failure to harness the resources that we have effectively to provide a society that we should be able to describe as civilized, but we certainly can't describe it.